Welcome to Ressa's Take. I'm so glad you're here. Each week, we will tackle some common challenges that we all often experience in life, and I'll share my take on the topic, along with some of my learnings from my own experiences. This is all about navigating life together and unlocking our best selves, one conversation at a time. Hello, everybody. It's your girl, Ressa. I appreciate you tuning in today to Ressa's Take. I hope you all had a great week. It's already about to be April. I have no idea where the year is going. I feel like as I get older, I've learned how important it is to just slow down and not rush things. And it's like in your 20s and even into your early 30s, I feel like we spend so much time just scrambling to get our lives in order. And there's this unspoken pressure to have everything figured out by 30 so that way we can just spend the rest of our lives actually living. And I know that I talked about this in an earlier episode, but let me just say, if you are in that moment of time right now in your life, do not believe the myth. It is genuinely impossible to have your life figured out by 30. And maybe not in all cases, but in many, what you thought you wanted in your 20s is going to change. So don't waste these precious transformative years of your life putting yourself under unrealistic pressure to have it all figured out. If you want to prioritize something, prioritize balance. Balance chasing your dreams and enjoying life at the same time. And this is really the heart of this week's episode. It's not solely for those navigating their 20s, but rather, whatever your age, whatever stage of life you're currently in, it's so important that we don't forget to actually enjoy life. Today, we're going to talk about the importance of slowing down and living in the moment. Let's talk about what it means to live in the moment. It's all about being present. It's when your emotions, your attention, and your focus are on the moment that you're experiencing right now. Because if it's not, it means you're likely fixated on either the past or the future. You're not giving the things in your life the attention they really deserve. And I think all of us do this with good intention. We likely have a lot of responsibility, a busy schedule, a demanding job, maybe a family or loved ones that we need to take care of, or maybe we just have really big dreams. Whatever it is, there's likely something that's making you feel like you don't have a moment to waste and you have to get it sorted right now. And I'm sure there might be some level of truth to that feeling, but time is precious. Our lives and the lives of those around us are lived one day at a time. It's so important that we don't miss moments from today because we're so focused on preparing for the future or living in the past. Tomorrow isn't guaranteed. So let's not lose today because we're hyper fixated on the future. And this isn't me saying not to plan or prepare or think ahead. Of course, you can and should do that. That would be the responsible thing to do. It wouldn't make sense to entirely take life one day at a time with no planning or preparation. That would actually make it hard to get where you want to go financially, professionally, whatever. But we can't over index so far on planning and preparing that we lose the moments we have while we're preparing for the future moments that we expect. What does it look like to live in the moment? You're present and mentally engaged in the moment that you're currently in. As an example, it could be that you're actively engaging in a conversation with those around you and you're actually listening to what they're saying. You're not making your grocery list in your head or thinking about what you need to do later that day or wondering how long it's been since you started this conversation. I know we're all guilty of it. Don't sit there and act like you haven't done it before. But if we think about it, it's not fair to us or those around us if we can't fully allow ourselves to be present because our mind is preoccupied on something else. So, what are some signs that we might not be living in the present? The first is multitasking. You're mentally or physically preoccupied with something else that's outside of the moment that you're in. This isn't saying that multitasking is bad. There are, of course, moments where it might make sense, but there are also many times when it takes us away from a more important moment that we're currently in. Maybe you're texting or scrolling on your phone while you're out to dinner with friends or family, rather than actively listening or participating in the conversation. Your time is actually split between half listening and looking at your device. I know there are probably some of you saying that you can effectively do both. It's really great that you tell yourself that, but you can't. You cannot be fully present and attentive to two things at once. And that is not Ressa's opinion. That's science. Look it up. What is more important in that moment? Scrolling your feed or dinner with your friends and family? This was just an example, but regardless of what you may be multitasking to accomplish, it's important not to be so focused on checking off your to do list that you're not really present in any of those moments. Instead of responding to emails on your phone while you're watching a movie with friends, split it up so that you can focus on the right messaging you need to send in your emails later and then enjoy the emotion, the joy, the laughter, or whatever that you may have while you're watching that movie with your loved ones now. Another sign could be that your thoughts are constantly focused on what's next. I live in that world, so I get it. It is very hard to break this habit. I'm constantly thinking about the next thing I need to do, and it makes it so hard to really be present in the moment. If you're a planner or someone with big ambitions, this probably resonates with you. We care so much about building the life we want and having clear plans for ourselves on how we're going to get there that any moment we slow down feels like time lost from getting us where we're actually trying to go. And that's actually not true. Yes, time moves fast, but in reality, being present isn't going to cost you days or weeks of time. How much time are we truly saving by having our brain focused on the future while we're physically doing something else in the present? We aren't really losing time, but we could gain more peace in the present if we let ourselves slow down just a little bit and enjoy the moment that we're actually in. This connects to another example, which is when we're so busy that we don't have time to enjoy the things that we're doing. How many times has someone asked you, "How are you?" or "How are things?" And your answer was busy? I know I'm guilty of that. I literally think I just said that yesterday. Sometimes it almost feels like a positive thing to say, or at least in American culture, it's like busy is a badge of honor, which is twisted. Like you have so much happening in your life, you're on the go, when really there's nothing cool about that. And I'm not saying that I say it to sound cool, but it's almost like a way of validating the fact that you're paying attention to more things than you probably should have. Let's look at a hypothetical situation of trying to do too much in one day. You can't enjoy your friend's birthday brunch if you have a commitment that is immediately after that. Because let's just think, you have to think about travel time, right? Getting from one place to the other. What if there's traffic? Who knows what's going on? You also have to think about your Uber. So, when the mimosas are flowing and the vibes are on point, you can't truly be present because you keep checking your watch or the clock to make sure that you can leave on time. And you have to think about, okay, when should I actually call my Uber because they're going to take some time to get here? And then will I be late to the next thing? This is an example, of course. And I'm sure many of us had situations similar to this. I know that I have. We have to slow down. We owe ourselves that. Life can be short. It's so precious. Life is so precious. We need to enjoy the moments that we have. Because in that example, you're so focused on what you have to do next and making sure you're not messing that up that you can't really be present just to celebrate your friend. Of course, I'm sure you're having conversation, you're talking with others, but your mind is not fully in it. And honestly, busy culture is just not sustainable. This behavior of constant busyness can actually lead to burnout where you'll be forced to slow down. And that's not an experience you want to go through. I'm actually recording this episode while on a weekend self care getaway at a spa resort. And I'm here because I realized I need to slow down and I need to take a purposeful pause to focus on my own well being. And hearing that might feel like it's contradictory because I'm recording this podcast while I'm on a self care weekend getaway. But actually, I carved out a couple hours so that I could keep this podcast going and have a new episode for everyone. And then I made sure that the rest of the weekend is really just focused on me. I dedicated the space for the podcast rather than trying to do both at once. Like I didn't prep or do any of this while I'm sitting in the spa, right? And next weekend, just to continue on this topic, I actually might skip a recording for the podcast because I'm going back to my hometown to visit family for the Easter holiday. And since I have so few moments with them, because we live far apart, I really want to just make sure that I prioritize them on that visit and don't take too much time away from that. I'll be honest, being present in the moment is an area that I just have so much room for growth in. I struggle with it a lot. And, just like any other episode, I will keep it real and I'll share a few examples with you guys on how this shows up in my life. One area that comes right to mind when I think about this is that I'm often mentally in like three different places. I'm focused on what I'm doing now, what I need to do next, and then thinking about whatever comes after that, or simultaneously working on something else that maybe someone asked me to do that was unexpected. My mind is constantly racing, and this is often because of the fact that I'm too busy. I've been actively working to change that, but I have a bad habit of saying yes to too many things. Whether it's a commitment or a favor, the people pleaser in me just has a hard time saying no. And then at the same time, the overachiever in me has a hard time saying no. It's like a really bad duo that I have going on regularly. I'm so focused on progress and my goals while simultaneously focusing on keeping those around me happy. And it's often at my own expense, and I end up burned out. I end up constantly on the go, and I'm never really enjoying the moment that I'm in. I've taken steps to get better at this. I'm actively working to put myself first rather than always putting the needs of those that I care about above mine. And that shift has helped me say no, even when it's hard. Another area that I have a hard time being in the present is even when it comes to celebrating my successes. For this, I'm specifically thinking of like work examples. I've launched a few initiatives these past couple years that have been successful, but I have a hard time resting in that, and I don't know why. For me, just jump to what's next, and I don't think that's healthy because I never really let myself feel the joy, the excitement, or the pride that comes from a job well done. And I think that also has a downstream impact because I jump right to the next project. I let myself get all stressed out while I'm working on that new project because I want to ensure it's successful. And I wonder if I would get that worked up if I actually gave myself the time to live in the moment a little bit after projects and rest in the fact that we absolutely crush it every single time and that I did such a good job? I don't know if it actually is causation there, but I do feel like if I gave myself a little bit more time to just reflect and a little bit more time to just pause and celebrate that, it would make the next project that seems crazy hard not as daunting or not as stressful because I know that we've been able to overcome hard things before. Another thing is this podcast, ironically, is another example where I'm learning that I need to rethink how I let myself be present in the moment. So I have a day job Monday through Friday during the week. So I need to use my weekends to do all things relative to the podcast. And I'll be honest, when I started Ressa's Take, I didn't realize how much it takes to create these episodes. I need to think of episode topics, write out my talking points, record, edit that recording, then record videos that I can post on social media, edit those videos, schedule when I post them, think about captions that'll actually get people to want to click. It just takes so much time, so much like mental space as well. And like this is genuinely a part time job, but I do it because I have a passion for it and because of the great feedback that I've gotten from many of you on how these chats have actually helped you. That is my why for Ressa's Take. But that also means that it cuts into the time that I have for myself during the week. So it's all about balance. I have a hard time figuring that out though. I find myself working on video edits or writing talking points for an episode while watching a movie or TV with my boyfriend. And like, that's not okay. I need to give them both the attention that they deserve. But I just have a hard time balancing focusing on this and focusing on the moments around me. Even my dog makes me feel guilty. Like today, I was writing some of the talking points for this episode, and she's giving me the toy to throw and giving me those puppy eyes. And I'm like, okay, I have a massage appointment this afternoon. I really wanted to knock this out before then. So here I am throwing the toy between sentences while I'm writing my talking points. And as I mentioned before, I'm still learning how to practice what I preach, y'all. But we're in it together. That is what Rest's Take is all about. So before we wrap up, let's go ahead and talk through a few recipes that we all, including myself, can start to think about to try to get ourselves to more easily live in the moment. The first is find healthier ways to cope. Stress and anxiety are common reasons that it becomes hard to live in the moment. So think about that as you think through how you can address this area of your life in wanting to be more present. Rather than busyness or multitasking, as an example, being your antidote to address the stress and anxiety that you're feeling, what are healthier outlets that you should choose? Is it therapy? Is it learning to say no so that you don't overwhelm yourself? Is it focusing on maybe better communicating your thoughts and feelings with others so that way they can know the time that you need to get certain tasks done? Whatever it is, do the work to figure that out and you might find some relief. The next recipe is take an inventory of how you're spending your time. How much of what you are doing is really necessary? Do you need to be more conscious of the must haves versus the nice to haves when it comes to your schedule? If you have trouble saying no, this could be especially hard for you, but I encourage you to commit to this. Many times, our loved ones, colleagues, coworkers may ask for our support, our commitment, or our partnership on something, and it's on us, not them, to manage our own time. As new things come your way, really think about what the commitment would take. And when you're thinking about that, also think about the prep required for it, right? So, not just the thing, but is there anything you need to do ahead of time to be ready for that? Take all of that into account and then determine if you can commit to it. Because it's important to think about, can I commit to this and still have a balance in my life where I can be present for more important things or things that are more important to me? The next recipe is choose to live in the present. I read an article by Dr. Mike Bechtel where he talked about some things you can do to help yourself get better at living in the moment. He had a tip that I think is really helpful. He suggests that to get started on living in the present, first just take one day and list all the things that you're feeling and the things that your mind is focusing on. You can even set a reminder to, ensure that you're capturing these things throughout the day. So you'll write all of your thoughts and feelings down on a piece of paper throughout the day. Then at the end of the day, look at the list of the things that you've been thinking about that's been on your mind, taking up space, taking your attention away from other things, and reflect on what actually deserves your attention and what do you need to just let go of or save for a future moment so that you can really be present in the current moment. I just think it's a really interesting exercise, and I'm actually going to do this for myself because I can see how it could yield a lot of benefits because it helps us really take an inventory of our brain and figure out there might be a lot of things that we're emphasizing in our head or putting a lot of attention towards that really don't deserve the airtime right now. It might be something that we can't change. It might be something from our past. It might be something that's so far ahead, we don't even need to be thinking about that right now. So I think that this could be a really helpful exercise. The last recipe is find moments to purposefully pause. And if you can't find the moment, create it. Make sure you're giving yourself the time you need to just breathe, take life in, not have to worry about what's next, and some time for self care. You can't pour from an empty cup. So be present in the moment and make sure that you're taking care of you. That's all I have for today's episode. Thank you for listening today. I hope this resonated with you. Don't forget to catch yourself if you aren't being fully present for those around you. Tomorrow will come. You can still prioritize your plans, your ambitions, and your aspirations without sacrificing your ability to live in the moment. I hope you have a relaxing weekend. God bless. And that's a wrap. Another candid chat among friends. If today's episode resonated with you, hit that follow button, share the episode with your friends, and leave a review. I would love to hear what resonated most and love to hear any of the thoughts that you have on the episode. Hope to see you soon, and don't forget to drop your questions or insights on our Instagram at Ressa's Take.